I don't know.
Sea stars losing their arms all over the place and crawling away
Starfish,
is
okay.
pretty terrifying.
Yeah, that's a
Once,
little weird.
starfish were spotted tearing off their arms, which then detached and crawled away from the body. Turned out this happens
Ugh.
everywhere, from Alaska to
looks
Mexico,
like some
among at
chicken.
least 20 different starfish species. Sometimes one torn arm sort of eats the rest, acting like a zombie. So what's
What?
this all about?
What?
Starfish are amazing creatures. Yes, many animals on our planet can regenerate, but
Oh,
starfish
not
can
the
restore
crab.
their body from a tiny piece. As long as there's a fragment of the central disc intact, everything is fine. But some tropical
Is that weird?
starfish species have gone even further. They can grow an entirely new starfish from just one piece of a torn arm. Imagine a
What?
person's arm got chopped off in an accident, and a new person grows out of it. Perhaps
No,
it's
that's
a
weird,
good
that's
thing
weird,
that
that's
people
weird.
don't work like that. The starfish can do that since each of its arms contains copies of vital organs and is equipped with eye spots that help starfish differentiate between light and darkness. Plus,
What?
even a small fragment of an arm has...
Yo, why? So they not lying. That must have been the one that got chopped off and then turned into a tiny starfish. What?
tube feet, which help the starfish move. Following injury or amputation, a starfish, or rather the piece that was left of it, can survive with copies of organs during the regeneration period until everything else grows back. That is, from
Yo,
a
they got
few
so
months
many legs. There's no starfish.
to more than a year. Though this ability doesn't explain
Oh,
why
gross.
starfish throw their arms around like they don't need them anymore, what could be the reason for this behavior? Well, starfish
That's a good
could do it for
question. That's so
asexual
weird.
reproduction. Some species actually reproduce like this. You cast off your arm, your offspring grows out of it. Mission accomplished. Since
Yeah.
starfish got many arms and regeneration doesn't take much time, they can
Yo, that
repeat
don't
this
look
multiple
right.
times. True, it's important that the torn arm doesn't get eaten by a predator. This can happen sometimes. However, as I said, each arm of a starfish contains copies of all the important
Those
organs,
eggs?
including the gonads, the organs that produce reproductive cells. Starfish actually reproduce by
Oh.
spawning. That is, these very reproductive cells end up in the water and are fertilized somewhere out there, outside the body. This gave birth to a theory saying that starfish
those
cast
are
off their
eggs.
arms to increase the scatter range of the eggs and get better chances of them being fertilized. And you know, it sounds quite logical. By the way, it's believed that starfish that reproduce asexually age more slowly and feel better than those that use conventional sexual reproduction. That is,
Really?
without tearing off their arms. So perhaps by throwing their arms around, starfish simply prolong their lives. But since we mentioned typical sexual reproduction, I just have to show you what starfish larvae look like.
Ugh, that's
Because
what
they
they
don't look
swim
like
like?
their parents at all. This weird-looking blot is the
That's not a
future
starfish.
starfish. It not only looks like some kind of microorganism,
Bro, that's not no starfish, man. That's some plankton. Why are they lying to us like this?
but is also covered with cilia. Yeah, you probably remember from your school biology lessons that cilia help different single-celled creatures move. The larvae generate vortices of water around them, which helps them move and also bring nutrient microorganisms closer to their mouths. Baby starfish spend 60 days in the open ocean, feeding and building up strength to change into the next form. But back to the weird
They don't
arm
even look like
scattering
no
by
starfish.
starfish. Another possible reason they do that is temperature regulation. And that's, okay, let's face it, tearing
Temperature.
your arm off because you don't like the temperature around
It's
is
crazy.
totally weird. However,
Exactly.
some starfish
What?
indeed do that. When dealing with an excessively warm environment, they could actually die, as starfish are considered cold-blooded animals. There's an internal temperature limit for starfish, 95 degrees
That's
Fahrenheit.
so weird
If
watching
it's
the move.
exceeded, the starfish dies. At the same time, the temperature of the central disc, that is the most important area, and its arms, can differ by several degrees.
Oh,
This
the middle.
suggests that this is the way starfish dissipate heat, keeping it away from the vital area. Naturally, as soon as the temperature in the arms exceeds a dangerous mark, the arms shrink and detach. That, of course, doesn't feel nice, but it's much better than dying,
You think it hurt?
especially since arms are easy to grow back. Well, some species of starfish
That's
can
so
tear off their arms at the
weird.
point where they connect to the central body in order to escape from predators. Perhaps this is the most natural and usual
What is
explanation.
that?
After all, this is what lizards do when they discard their tails. Better to lose a tail, or in this case an arm, than your life.
That's a scrub.
However, the story that I mentioned at the very beginning of the video has nothing to do with reproduction, body temperature, or protection from predators.
Wow.
It's all about the virus. It was discovered
Virus?
quite recently, but judging by the museum
get
specimens
sick?
of starfish, the virus has been raging at least since the 1940s. The problem is
1940s?
that no one knows why it began to influence starfish like this now. Well, I'm not a scientist, but perhaps this is how starfish increase their chances of surviving the virus. Once infected, they may discard body parts, hoping they'll grow and learn to better deal with the virus. True, it's still not clear why the torn arms are trying to devour each other. We have to wait for some serious research to find this out. Thankfully, so far, the strange virus doesn't pose a serious danger to starfish, and the situation is far from being catastrophic. The ability to regenerate may help, but it can also be a source of problems, just not for the starfish themselves.
Bro,
The
starfish
crown
look so
of thorn
weird.
starfish is an invasive species for coral reefs in the western Pacific. Like many other
There's so
starfish
many.
species, it has advanced regeneration, and it also loves to eat shellfish. At some point, the crown of thorn starfish became so carried away they began.
Ain't no way it's eating a clam, bro. Look, bro, it's trying to open it. Nah, this too cool.
And to undermine the catch of local fishermen, and the fishermen didn't take that well. The clam fishers decided to fight the invasive species on their own, but they didn't know exactly what to do to kill the starfish. Their reasoning was simple. If you cut an animal in half, it definitely wouldn't survive. Ha!
Cap.
They threw parts of starfish into the water, not realizing they only increased the population of invasive species. In the end, there were so many starfish that this led to the overpopulation of coral reefs,
Bro, this
and in
so
some
stupid.
areas, it's still a serious issue. Fighting crown of thorns starfish is really difficult. In the Great Barrier Reef off the coast of Australia
They
alone,
purple?
these starfish are causing damage that's estimated to be responsible for a 40% decline in coral cover. People just can't cope with it. And that's where technology
40?
comes to the rescue.
That's a
Scientists
lot.
at the Queensland University of Technology have developed an autonomous robot known as TOTSBot.
They finna shoot
Armed with
lasers at it.
cameras, 5 thrusters, and GPS, this small submersible can find and kill crown of thorn starfish by using a pneumatic arm to administer a lethal injection. To identify the invasive starfish, the robot was trained on thousands of
They got
images and
robots that
videos
do
of the
that?
reef. Well, as for crown of thorn
That's
starfish,
crazy.
which the robot misses, divers can deal with them later. There are fewer starfish. But aside from regeneration, starfish have other superpowers that make
Look
them
at the leg.
truly successful predators. To be honest, when back in school I found out that
Look, you finna
starfish
open
are
it.
basically predators, it shattered my world. Good thing no one told me about their ability to turn their own stomach inside out. To
Yo,
me,
I
this
heard about that.
echinoderm actually ejects its stomach from its body, placing it on the digestible parts of its prey. Usually these are mussels or clams. That is something soft. The stomach then partially digests what it can, producing a slurry, and then is drawn back into the starfish's 10 digestive glands.
What?
All that's left after a starfish dinner is an empty shell. And then the predator sets off in search of its next prey.
Oh, that fish is
Sometimes
gone.
starfish don't even think too much about the size of what they eat, and they pick quite large prey like fish or crabs.
A
That
crab?
looks frightening. And as if all this wasn't enough, the scientists hid a camera inside the mussel to see what it looks like to be eaten by a starfish from the inside.
It looked like an
I
alien,
don't
bro.
like it. That's creepy. Compared to this, the ability to see with arms seems to be quite harmless.
Yo,
The
that
thing
moves
is,
so
starfish
weird.
don't have eyes in the usual sense with pupils and all that. However, at the tip of each arm, they have light-sensitive spots, usually black or reddish. They allow starfish to recognize their environment to some degree. The researchers
What?
noted that starfish eyes resemble those of crabs and spiders and contain simple photoreceptors. That is, they don't
Oh.
provide an HD resolution, but they allow animals to stay closer to their homes. 200
You can't even
pixels
see
are
nothing
enough
like
to see
that.
at a distance of 3 feet and understand where to move. But anything further gets blurry. However, starfish clearly don't feel any discomfort. And what should they be afraid of when evolution gave starfish armor for protection? Of course, it's not as tough as the armor of a crab or a turtle. but
Oh,
just
not
like
the
with their
sea
eyes,
turtle.
this is good enough for them. Starfish have a hard covering on the outside made of calcium carbonate plates with tiny spines on the surface. Rigidity and the presence of spines depend
Whoa.
on the starfish
There's a
species.
starfish?
Such armor can protect starfish from birds, fish, and sea otters, given that predators aren't too persistent and
Yo, he
don't
cut
turn
off
their
his
prey
arm.
over. Though actually, what can birds and otters do against the animals that have learned to defend themselves from humans? The good news is that starfish won't
know.
bite you if it feels threatened. The bad news, starfish don't want to be studied. This was discovered by biology students who were tasked with implanting small chips into starfish.
Wait, starfish can bite? Is that what he said?
Themselves from humans. What can birds and otters do against the animals that have learned to defend themselves from humans? The good news is that starfish won't bite you if it feels threatened.
Starfish can bite?
The bad news, starfish don't want to be studied. This was discovered by biology students who were tasked with implanting small chips into starfish to make them easier to identify for further research. But no one asked the animals if they agreed to be a part of it. A few days later, the students discovered that the starfish simply forced the tags out of their bodies without any harm to their bodies.
What?
The chips didn't damage the organs, didn't cause any pain. The starfish simply spat them out from their arms. Fortunately, scientists have a solution to this problem, but that's a story for another time. And finally, perhaps the saddest fact of today's video. I already
What?
mentioned that the truth about the starfish shattered my world once. Of course, this is an exaggeration, but
Yo,
there's
it tried
one
to
more
get
thing
away.
that's actually frustrating. Patrick and SpongeBob would never be
Patrick.
friends in the real world.
Yes, they
On
would.
July 27th, 2021, at a depth of 6,184 feet, researchers took a
He's not finna ruin my childhood. Yours either. I saved you. Have a good day.